extremely disturbing and dangerous developments in our country as it relates to the conduct and behavior of the head of government in some questionable and suspicious transactions that cries out for transparency, full disclosure, and accountability. We will also be paying attention this evening to the incursion and invasion by the Elections and Boundaries Commission in a bizarre development under the rubric of monitoring electronically data collection. We know, ladies and gentlemen, that Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister, increased the number of seats from 12 to 15. We call it gerrymandering in Tobago. And we are hoping that he has not reached into the Elections and Boundaries Commission to further manipulate and undermine the holding of free and fair elections in Tobago. We will say more about this later on. At this time, I would like to welcome our distinguished colleague, Member of Parliament for Barataria San Juan, Attorney at Law, Shadow Member of Parliament, and with responsibility for the Attorney General's office, inclusive of legal affairs, who will address this matter of conduct and behavior of the head of government. May I welcome Honorable Saddam Hussein, Member of Parliament for Barataria San Juan, who will now address you. Saddam.
Thank you very much, Senator Mark. Members of the media, we have called you here this afternoon to discuss a very important and crucial, critical matter involving several transactions that was executed by the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. And on Monday night, at the UNC's Monday night virtual meeting, I revealed some information that the political leader and the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamala Prasad, Bissessa, of senior counsel, I promised to reveal. And in those documents, it revealed that the Prime Minister would have purchased a townhouse together with his wife at a development called Inez Gate, Shervan Road in Tobago. Members of the media, since Monday, we have asked the Prime Minister to come clean on the allegations and the issues surrounding the purchase of this townhouse at Inez Gate. Tuesday, Wednesday, today is Thursday. The Prime Minister gave a very flippant response when asked by the media about this particular issue, whether or not he declared the purchase of that townhouse to the Integrity Commission. So we gave the Prime Minister that opportunity to clear the air for the public. But since the Prime Minister has so failed to do, this morning I have caused to be issued a letter under my name, the Member of Parliament for Barataria San Juan, to the Chairman of the Integrity Commission, Professor Rajendra Ramlogan, where I have formally made a complaint against the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to investigate matters in relation to breaches of the Integrity in Public Life Act with respect to the non-disclosure of the purchase of a townhouse at Rowley Gate, Shervan Road in Tobago. I have a copy of the letter in my hand, and I will share a copy of this letter with the members of the media and the public. We told the Prime Minister, if you don't come clean, we will take the necessary action. And we have now taken the necessary action by making this formal complaint to the only statutory commission to investigate these matters. And in this letter, I ask and request an urgent investigation into whether or not there are breaches of provisions under the Integrity in Public Life Act, Chapter 2201, by the Prime Minister, namely, 1. The non-disclosure of the acquisition of a townhouse unit at Rowley Gate, Shervan Road, Tobago, and 2. The non-disclosure of a gift and or personal benefit in relation to the purchase of the said townhouse. Now, members of the media and those who are listening to us right now through our various social media platforms, on Monday night, I would have revealed by a deed dated the 21st of February 2019, made between Inez Investments Limited and Keith Rowley and Sharon Clark Rowley, a townhouse was purchased by the Prime Minister and his wife. And in this deed, it indicated that the Prime Minister would have purchased this particular property for $1.2 million. So this is the deed for the property. And this deed has all of the information. Now on this deed, it is a 3-bedroom townhouse located in Rowley Gate. And as I said, the purchase price was $1.2 million. However, what was very strange about this particular purchase is that $1.2 million is not the market value of this particular townhouse. The townhouse, according to the stamp duty figure that is found here, so it shows what the market value of the property will be, it is $1.68 million. So what is the importance and the significance of this? The Prime Minister, according to this transaction, would have been, and it appears that he's the beneficiary of a discount of almost $500,000 from a townhouse he purchased. $500,000. And therefore, the Prime Minister, in response, is trying to say it is a private transaction between him and Inez Investments Limited. Because you are the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, you are no longer a private citizen. You now fall under the ambit of what is called the Integrity in Public Life Act. And according to the law, the Integrity in Public Life Act, it says at Section 11 that a person who is in public life has a duty every year to file his assets, his income, and his liabilities. What does this mean? If any person who is in public life, such as the Prime Minister, purchases a property, he must declare this property with the Integrity Commission. This is a substantial purchase. It is a purchase of $1.2 million. So this is the first point with respect to the Integrity Commission. In that the Prime Minister, according to our checks which we would have made at the Integrity Commission register, revealed that the Prime Minister, when he filed his declaration for the year 2019, the year which he acquired the townhouse, he did not declare this townhouse to the Integrity Commission. One will remember that a former Prime Minister of this country, Mr. Bastille Pandey, was charged for failing to declare a bank account in London. So the same principle applies here. Now, what it goes further is that within the law, the Integrity in Public Life Act, so this is the Integrity in Public Life Act, it says that where a person who fails to provide the proper particulars and information to the Integrity Commission, they commit a criminal offense. It borders on criminal conduct. So the Prime Minister has yet to deny the allegation that he filed and informed the Integrity Commission that he purchased this townhouse. But then the Prime Minister also has to declare not only the townhouse, but according to the Act itself, it says at Section 27 of the Integrity in Public Life Act, it says that where a person in public life receives a gift and or a personal benefit that exceeds $5,000, that person must declare and give a statement to the Integrity Commission indicating the nature of the gift or benefit, the source of the gift or benefit, and the circumstances under which it was given or accepted. So therefore, the market value of the townhouse is $1.68 million. The Prime Minister purchased the townhouse for $1.2 million according to the deed. So that is a difference of about $480,000. So let's say roughly $500,000 in discount that the Prime Minister did not disclose to the Integrity Commission. So I have taken it upon myself to have written the Integrity Commission for a complete, urgent investigation into whether or not the conduct of the Prime Minister breached the provisions of the Integrity in Public Life Act. So the Prime Minister will try to tell the population that this is a private transaction. This is not a private transaction. This is a transaction with respect to the Prime Minister, who is a person in public life, having to make certain declarations. Myself, Senator Mark, every year we have to file our declarations with the Integrity Commission with our assets, our incomes, and our liabilities. So the Prime Minister is no different. The Prime Minister is not above the law. And if he felt he could have gotten away without giving answers to what took place with respect to the collapse of the Police Service Commission, well, Prime Minister, you are wrong. You now have to answer to the Integrity Commission with respect to this particular matter. Because this is a matter that deals with whether or not you have committed breaches of the law under the Integrity in Public Life Act. So I call on the Prime Minister. I no longer call on the Prime Minister because he has not given any answers. We now ask the Integrity Commission to launch an urgent and immediate investigation into this matter. Because that townhouse that is in Rowley Gate on Shervan Road, Tobago, has a lot of questions that the Prime Minister has to account for, because there is need for transparency with respect to this matter. Because he, as a head of state, as a head of government, the Prime Minister, as a head of government, is not above the law, and he must be held accountable for what is taking place right now with respect to this. He must explain to the Integrity Commission why there was no disclosure of this townhouse with respect to his filing of his forms for 2019, and what are the circumstances surrounding this massive discount of $500,000 off a townhouse unit. So I thank you very much, members of the media, and I now pass you on to Senator Wade Mark.
Thank you, my honorable colleague and friend, Saddam Hussein. Members of the media, this Prime Minister, we want to put him on notice. You see this? This is the Rowley Gate file. And it is entitled Nowhere to Run. What the Honorable Saddam Hussein has revealed is merely the tip of the iceberg. This is only one in a series of packages dealing with the Rowley Gate. Now, members of the media, you would be aware of Sean would remember this film. is a film. In 1993, the lead actor in that film was a chap called Jean-Claude Van Damme. And the title of the film was Nowhere to Run. Today we tell the Prime Minister, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, he has nowhere to run. He has been caught. He's now caged. And I think that he's without clothes, like the emperor. The gentleman who accused everyone of being dishonest and lacking in integrity, the so-called beacon of integrity, has now become the beacon of infamy, the beacon of kleptocracy, and the beacon of dishonor and disgrace. Now, members of the media, I just want to add to what my colleague Saddam shared with you earlier. We have done our research, and our research has revealed that when the Honorable Prime Minister purchased this property at Inez Gate, Sherwood Road, Tobago, in February of 2019, the price at that material time was $1.8 million. This came out of Inez Gate website. And you see where they crossed out the 1.8 million, and the new price, you see, is 1.719095. That was in January of 2020. This advertisement came out in January of 2020. New year, new price. When the Prime Minister bought his property at Inez Gate in February of 2019, it was valued at 1.8. Look at there, look at there. So the latest discovery shows that the Prime Minister got a discount of $600,000, almost $1 million. And as my colleague indicated to you earlier, in 2019, when we checked at the Integrity Commission, his Form B, he made no declaration of his property at Inez Gate, and consequently did not provide to the Integrity Commission this discount he enjoyed of $600,000. The Prime Minister has broken the law, and there's no escaping. That is why we have now deemed him, like Jean-Claude Van Damme film, nowhere to run. Can't escape. He can't escape. He never provided any disclosure to the Integrity Commission on the purchase of this particular apartment. Everybody was paying, it was cost at 1.8. That was the price. He paid 1.2. $1.2 million. Where you know a businessman will give a discount of $600,000 to you or to me, just so? He needs to explain this. And then he comes in a shameful way. Hear what he said in the Express. This is Express here. The Express of Wednesday, the 1st of December. Right? Hear what he said. And I quote, they said that Alan Warner built the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago. That is a lie. That's Rowley speaking. They claim that Alan Warner was building the A&R Robinson Airport. That is a lie. And he went on further to say, yes, them is Uncle A.M. Carino, so they know what I must pay in a private purchase agreement. Let me remind the Prime Minister, those citizens who don't know about A.M. Carino, he was an auctioneer. A.M. Carino was an auctioneer, not a real estate developer. So let us not get confused here. The Prime Minister is confusing A.M. Carino, an auctioneer, with a fellow who is involved in real estate development. And he's a real estate developer. Now, we have done our research on this matter. And what we have discovered is that this property that the Prime Minister claims, brothers and sisters, he claims was built by Parks International. I want to tell members of the media that based on the research that we have conducted, we have been able to show, and I'll point out that to you in a short while, that this particular property, that is the Prime Minister's Tobago residence, whilst the sign was up, known as being built by Parks International, there's another sign that was also up, which I'm now trying to get to you now, so you can understand what we are dealing with and who we are dealing with. Here it is. This is the entrance to the official residence of the Prime Minister when it was under construction. And you will see on this signage here, something called WS. That is Warner Sanitation. And if you read this signage properly, you will see the name Warner Construction and Sanitation Services Limited. We would like to ask the Prime Minister, what role did Alan Warner Company played in the construction of the official residence of the Prime Minister in Blenheim, Tobago, which cost the taxpayers close to $20 million. Because he's claiming that we are lying. He's saying that we are saying that Alan Warner did not build his official residence. We know Parks International was the main contractor. That is on the signage. But at the entrance to Blenheim, where the house is located, during construction, this sign was erected. And the sign is clear. Warner Construction. So we asked the Prime Minister through the media today, what role, Mr. Prime Minister, did your good friend play in the construction of this particular official residence? that cost the taxpayers some $20 million. And that is why I put the media on notice. Rowley Gate. See this? More revelations to come. We are not going to give you all at once. More revelations to come as it relates to the business transactions of the Prime Minister, who apparently does not know his job. He is an entrepreneur, while at the same time he's carrying on the business of leading our country, and he's therefore conflicted. He needs to make a determination and make a choice. So members of the media, it is clear to us there's another transaction that we need clarification on. That is a transaction involving the daughter of the Prime Minister, Dr. Sonel Rowley, who again, like her father, was extremely lucky. 46 townhouses were constructed. From our information, over 40 have been disposed of. The majority of persons who have purchased townhouses at Rowley Gate have paid between 1.6 million to 1.8 million or 1.715 million. That is the going price. What we are trying to determine in this transaction involving the Prime Minister's daughter, which was only completed in September of 2021, how come the Rowleys are so lucky? How come only the Rowleys are able to get major, huge discounts on Rowley Gate properties? You know how much his daughter paid for her townhouse as opposed to the governor of the central bank? Like him, her father, she was also allowed a discount which saw the price of her apartment, her townhouse, being sold for $1.2 million. When the gentleman who sold that property to this lady, a gentleman by the name of Alan Warner, purportedly borrowed from Republic Bank $1.440 million on this property, and then came back and sold this property after he paid off this $1.440 million to Dr. Rowley's daughter for $1.2 million, a discount of over $440,000. So we are asking the question, how come only the Rowleys were able to get these discounts? The Prime Minister has to answer these questions. These are burning questions. The country needs to know, what is the real relationship between Alan Warner and the Prime Minister? We know on the records that we have received that a farm called Alma Farms have 2 directors. They changed it. There was a farm called Alma Rivers Farm initially, I think name to that effect. And when we search the records, you know who were the 2 directors on the list of directors? Only 2 in 2008. Dr. Keith Rowley and Mr. Alan Warner. So we ask the question, what is the relationship between Alan Warner and the Prime Minister that would allow him to get a discount of $600,000 and his daughter to get a discount of close to another $600,000. Because I want to remind you, this property that was purchased by Alan Warner was purchased for $1.6 million. So he sold that property for $1.2 million. Therefore, there was a discounted price of $400,000 or $440,000. We need the Prime Minister, the so-called beacon of integrity, to come clean and tell the country how you were so lucky, Mr. Prime Minister, to get almost, not 400,000, but in your instance, sir, you got $600,000 because at the material time when you bought that property, the property was valued at $1.8 million. Let me deal quickly with another issue. And before I deal with that issue, members of the media, incidentally, maybe coincidentally, maybe just by happenstance, they said Mr. Alan Warner got the contracts for the development of parts of Shervan development and Cove development. These are two huge pieces of real estate in Tobago to make way for the relocation of some 50-something persons who were displaced as a result of the airport expansion project in Tobago. I have the evidence here to show that Cove Industrial Estate is being developed by one Alan Warner. That is, his company is the company that is responsible for the development of Shervan Estate development to make way for residents who have been displaced. And at the Cove Industrial Estate, the gentleman again was lucky to get the contract to develop Cove Development Estate. We know it is multi-million dollars contracts, but we don't know what is the exact value of those contracts. So this fella called Alan Warner is a very lucky guy. He only getting contracts after contract after contracts. And then luckily for our Prime Minister, he getting contracts through the THA, through the THA. And our Prime Minister just happened to be lucky. Happened to be in the right place at the right time. We are not casting any aspersions on the Prime Minister. No. He's a good salesman. He's a good salesman. He made a good pitch. He was able to convince Mr. Alan Warner, please, Mr. Warner, give me $600,000 discount on this $1.8 million property. And he was lucky. I feel sorry for Newman George. I feel sorry for the governor of the central bank, who were both asked to pay full price for theirs. They weren't lucky as our Prime Minister and his beautiful daughter. Members of the media, another matter of grave concern to us deals with the following. On November the 29th, 2021, the Elections and Boundaries Commission, by way of a press release, members of the media, This is the press release. This is the press release issued by the Elections and Boundaries Commission on the 29th of November, informing Trinidad and Tobago that the Elections and Boundaries Commission, that's supposed to supervise free and fair elections in Trinidad and Tobago and must be like Caesar's wife, beyond any reproach, unilaterally decided to impose its will on the people of Tobago. And what is even more insulting and shameful is that we of the United National Congress, a partner in democracy, the official opposition in this country, with 310,000 people voting for us, was never consulted by the Elections and Boundaries Commission, even though we are not in the election race in Tobago. But when you are making moves like what you have made in this release, you have a duty of care to consult with all parties, particularly the leading opposition party in this country, the United National Congress. Like you, we read in the papers through this release what the EBC will do, what they have decided to do. And it looked like they have taken a unilateral decision without any consultation with the UNC or with parties in Tobago, as far as I'm aware, to discuss this imposition, this unilateral imposition of new rules by this body. And members of the media, let me just inform you what this is all about. I quote, "In its thrust to improve its election management processes and timely provision of information to its stakeholders." When did they discover that they needed to do this? Just on the 29th of November? The commission will be implementing, hear the word, there will be. They're not asking for any consultation with a view to determining whether this should be implemented. They have taken a unilateral decision to implement a measure without any consultation with the opposition in this country and with the political parties, as far as I am aware. They will be implementing a pilot project in 2 electoral districts with respect to one of its processes. This pilot project will see an increased use of technology in data collection, and this will be conducted, hear what he said, this will be unilateral again, undemocratic. It will be conducted parallel to the traditional manual process for data collection in those 2 electoral districts. Election and Boundaries Commission Chief Elections Officer, Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh, you have no such authority to impose on the eve of an election that is hotly contested in Tobago these kinds of measures. You have no such authority. And I call on Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh to point out to this country and to the United National Congress, the alternative government of this republic, where in the elections rules does this man and this commission, I should say, derive such power? Where we have looked at the elections rules, the election rules under the ROPA, Representation of the People Act, and we have not seen any provision that gives the Chief Elections Officer nor the Commission that power to unilaterally impose such a mechanism on the electoral process in Tobago. How on the eve of an election, which is going to be held next Monday, December the 6th, you can come out of the blue and say you're going to impose some electronic monitoring? Who asked for this? Mr. Ramkari Singh? Mark Ramkari Singh. He's the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission. Who requested this? Was it the PNM? Did the PNM request this? Who requested this? Because you didn't consult us and we didn't request this? Who requested this, Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh? Mrs. Roslyn Cummings, Mrs. Danielle Chow. There's a new one they just recently appointed called Mr. Wallace. Who requested this electronic monitoring? Is it the PNM? So has the EBC become an agent of the PNM? Is the Elections and Boundaries Commission in some kind of conspiracy with the PNM to thief and to steal the next election in Tobago and the upcoming general election or local election in Trinidad and Tobago? These are very serious matters. Where did the EBC derive its power from? Who did the EBC consult to impose this measure on the eve of a hotly contested elections in Tobago? No. Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh, we call on you to withdraw immediately this imposition on the people of Tobago. And please, do not introduce that in our local elections unless you consult with us. We ask you to withdraw. So the following question we ask Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh. He is the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission. Now we notice that this letter is signed not by him, but it is signed, well, it is not even signed, which is even more insulting. Look. It's a release. No respect for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we cannot say who sent out this. Who sent it out? Was it Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh? Was it Mrs. Fern Nasisko, the Chief Elections Officer? Who sent it out? But you sent out something indicating to Trinidad and Tobago that is what you will do. Well, you don't have the power to do so. We haven't seen your power under the election rules. And we call on Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh to withdraw this insulting document and this unilateral imposition on the people of Tobago on the eve of a hotly contested elections. We call on him to take immediate action to withdraw this insult that they have imposed on the country, and that is the island of Tobago. So we ask the question and we tell the country in no uncertain terms that the Elections and Boundaries Commission has not consulted with any of the stakeholders with respect to this so-called pilot project. I can speak on behalf of the United National Congress. We have not been consulted by the Elections and Boundaries Commission. We therefore call on the Elections and Boundaries Commission to immediately cease and desist with its intention to pursue this pilot project. Though you must pursue your pilot project, Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh, Chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, after those elections on Monday, December the 6th. Not before and not during. Please, withdraw it immediately. Lest you be seen by the population as the EBC becoming a stooge and a tool of the ruling People's National Movement. I do not believe that the EBC would want to be seen in that light. Therefore, we are asking and calling on you, Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh, as the chairman of the EBC, to withdraw this pilot project immediately. We say further, the Elections and Boundaries Commission cannot come on the eve of a hotly contested election to change the rules. No, EBC, you cannot change the rules on the eve of a general election. You cannot do that. That is improper. That is unfair. Where is the natural justice in this whole process? No, you have to withdraw this insult, Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh. We in the UNC make it very clear today that we strenuously object to any such change. Those matters must be raised in advance, well in advance of nomination day. And it must involve all the stakeholders, all the partners of democracy. So we call on Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh to withdraw. And we say finally that this decision on the part of the EBC goes contrary to the principle of democracy. This is highly undemocratic, what the EBC has done. And it goes against the rules of natural justice and fairness. So we call on the EBC to withdraw this pilot project on the eve of a election in Tobago that, as I said, that is being hotly contested, and we do not want the EBC to be seen. The Prime Minister increased the seats in the Tobago House of Assembly from 12 to 15. Just so. We call that Rowley Mandarin. And now the EBC, on the eve of an election in Tobago, out of the blue, has just imposed unilaterally this pilot project on the electoral process in Tobago. That is wrong. That is wrong. That is unfair. And we call on Mr. Mark Ramkari Singh, Chairman of the EBC, to immediately withdraw this pilot project and wait until the elections are over, calling all the stakeholders, and let us have a meaningful discussion on this matter of that electronic monitoring of data that you want to impose on the population in the various electoral districts come the local government election of 2022, as well as the next general elections. So members of the media, I'd like to pause at this time and to invite any questions that you may wish to raise on this very important issue that I have raised, and the matter also raised by my colleague Saddam, dealing with the conduct of the Prime Minister. So the media is now invited to raise any questions they may wish at this time.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to understand what is meant by electronic monitoring, and whether the UNC would have tried to communicate with the EBC to get a definition of what is meant by electronic monitoring. Is it like a video camera, a CCTV camera set up for security? Is it a tally of the counting results? Is it a way of casting ballots? Has there been any definition of what is meant by it?
Let me read, just for clarification, Sean, what was said in this release. This release says that this pilot project will see an increased use of technology in its data collection, and it will be conducted parallel to the traditional manual process. It goes on further. And let me just tell you what they are hoping to achieve. It goes on, the project will in no way replace the manual system and will be carried out in all polling stations on election day, and will simply see the use of data. Listen to this carefully, Sean. Will see the use of data entry clerks electronically identifying the voters present and those who have voted. So the EBC is conducting a macroing exercise to tell, obviously, I do not know who the EBC will be doing this on behalf of, but they are saying that they are going to be using data entry clerks electronically to identify the voters present and those who have voted. Why would the EBC want to see that and to monitor that? Why? To who? To do what? To send a message back to who? And for what purpose? Is the EBC monitoring this election result to send it back to the PNM? So the PNM will know that they are behind? What is going on here? Why is the EBC getting involved in the business of monitoring? And why are they reporting? And to whom are they reporting to? It goes on. The process for voting in the Republic remains as stipulated. And therefore it goes on to say the EBC expects that data collected in this project will give the Commission the ability to generate its after-election reports more expeditiously, and will in no way change the voting process and the sanctity and safety of our electorate that, well, the electorate has known to exist in our country. And the final part I'd like to read for you, Sean, is this. As an independent and transparent institution, I think we have to query that now. Is the EBC independent? Is the EBC transparent? We query that because they have not consulted with us. So where is the independence? Where is the transparency for the introduction of this pilot project? There has been none. So there has been no transparency, EBC, and your independence is now being queried. The Commission saw it fit. So they say in the interest of independence and transparency, the Commission unilaterally saw it necessary to inform its stakeholders in the electoral process in Tobago. So they have informed their stakeholders only in Tobago, Sean. It has nothing to do with Trinidad. Trinidad is separate from Tobago. The opposition is separate from Tobago. This EBC has discounted the opposition because we have received no correspondence from the EBC on this so-called pilot project. They have left out the opposition in this matter. And here what they say, they said rather. They say the Commission saw it necessary to inform its stakeholders in the electoral process in Tobago of its intentions as it seeks to improve its delivery of service in the democratic process. What does that mean? What does that really mean? He said the Commission, or it is said here, that the Commission recognizes that the use of technology can assist in improving many of its internal processes, and it is hoped that should this project be successful, that greater information and communication technology could be used at at all polling stations across both Trinidad and Tobago in future elections. Now, all this is good, it's nice, but what we are saying to the Elections and Boundaries Commission, these matters must be discussed with the stakeholders before you can unilaterally impose this on the electorate. And this is what the EBC has done. The EBC has unilaterally imposed a pilot project on the people of Tobago. They have not consulted the United National Congress on this pilot project. We do not know who they have consulted. They have not consulted us. And we therefore, Sean and members of the media, call on Mr. Mark Ramkeri Singh, the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, to cease and desist from proceeding with this insult on the people of Tobago and Trinidad by extension. Yes, Sean.
Yeah. I got a little confused as to the geographical extensiveness of this project, because I think when you first said, you mentioned about two.
Yes.
I think it was like in 2 seats or whatever.
Yes.
2 seats of it. And then I think towards the tail end, you said something about it would be, you read something, or said something that it would be across all. I got a little...
Yes, you're right, because in this paragraph, it says that this project will be carried out in all polling stations on election day.
Okay.
So it seems like on the one hand, they are saying to the country, it will be only in 2 polling stations. That is what they seem to be saying. One is Scarborough Mount Grace, and the second is Mount St. George Goodwood. I do not know how they came about in selecting these electoral districts. But what they went on to say in paragraph 3 of their communication is that this project will be carried out in all polling stations on election day and will simply see the use of data entry clerks electronically identify the voters present and those who have voted. This is completely confusing. It is highly undemocratic. It is highly suspicious. It is unacceptable. It is questionable. And we believe that the EBC is being used by the PNM to undermine the free and fair election process in the Tobago House of Assembly elections that is due on Monday, December the 6th. And we call on Mr. Mark Ramkeri Singh to immediately withdraw this pilot project and leave this pilot project for after December the 6th, when they can call in all stakeholders, including the UNC, to discuss this particular project that they wish to introduce in future elections. That is what we would like to propose to Mr. Mark Ramkeri Singh. And I give you the assurance, I'm sure, that the United National Congress will be penning a letter to the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, I would say soonest, to have this matter addressed and have them desist from proceeding with this matter.
I mean, assuming this project will take some sort of resourcing by way of staffing or equipment or software, was any indication ever given to it in the budget? I know you don't have the documents in front of you now, but if you remember if there was a huge allocation in the budget, or even in things like the annual report, if it was ever...
Well, what I would say, I'll ask my colleague and friend Saddam Hussein, who sits in the House of Representatives, and we have something called the Standing Finance Committee, at which the EBC would come before it, and all items and sub-items and sub-heads and heads would be thoroughly go through and analyze, and questions would be raised. So my colleague Saddam might be in a better position to indicate whether this matter of electronically monitoring and identifying voters to the EBC and all the voters that are coming to vote, and who have voted and who have not voted in real time, whether that was addressed and whether resources were asked for same in the 2022 budget. So Saddam, maybe you can address that.
Thank you, Senator Mark. And Sean, just to address the issue with respect to this electronic monitoring of voting during poll day. This was an issue that was not raised at the Standing Finance Committee, notwithstanding the presence of the Chief Elections Officer who was there in the chamber with us on that day. What I can say, Sean, is that I did in fact ask the Minister of Finance to request through the Chief Elections Officer whether the allocation to the EBC would be enough for the by-election in Davis South. Because you would know that the councillor for Davis South, the late Purushottam Singh, passed away in February of this year, and that electoral district has been left without representation for several months now. And we are hoping that the Prime Minister will call the elections in Davis South also, because this is 2 elections in Tobago within a 12-month period, and whereas Davis South has been left without a councillor for approximately 10 to 11 months now.
I had another question on the MP Hussein's presentation on Integrity Commission. You said you had checked the Prime Minister's declaration for the year 2019,
yeah.
But I'm looking at it in 2 years since then, a 2020 declaration, and we're now in 2021. Well, somewhere in 2021. So I wanted to know if you had checked his declarations for those 2 years, and if anything, if he would have subsequently filed an interest, declared his interest on the NSK property in those 2 years.
Thank you very much, Sean, for that question. The recent inspection that we would have done was conducted last Thursday, which was the 25th of November 2021. And when the Prime Minister file was checked, the last declaration he made was for the year ending 31st of December 2019. You'd have remembered he acquired the house in February of 2019. So therefore he would have had to declare that particular house for that year. And he would have filed his declaration on the 28th of December 2020. So just to be clear, the Prime Minister filed his declaration for the year ending 31st December 2019 on the 28th of December 2020. The Prime Minister has made no declaration to the Integrity Commission for the year ending 31st of December 2020. So the last form or the last declaration on file is for the year 2019.
Is that in itself, does this raise a new issue now? Is it now coming into a new issue if we are, well, year 2020 is gone and now basically almost year 2021 has gone. Is this a new concern that has been raised there now?
So how it works, Sean?
Yeah.
So a person in public life, the years counted at the last day of the annual year.
Okay.
So let's just give 2020 an example, right? When after the 31st of December 2020, you have until the 31st of May the following year as a deadline to file your Integrity in Public Life form. However, the Integrity Commission can give you an extension for up to 12 months. But that request must be made in writing to the Integrity Commission, and then they will agree whether or not they grant the deadline. So one will have to ask now, why is the Prime Minister taking so long to file his forms for the year 2020? Because the last, as I said, that he has filed for was the year ending 31st December 2019.
The Freedom of Information Act, would that provide, like, if there was an interested party, does Freedom of Information Act, is it applicable to the integrity, even if it's Form B?
Yeah.
I mean, the limited declaration in the Form B. Could an interested party use Freedom of Information Act to see if a declarant did make a request to the EBC,
To the
Integrity Commission,
for an extension.
For an extension.
Sean, you don't need to go that far.
Okay.
Under Section 14.2 of the Integrity in Public Life Act, any member of the public has the power of making a request to the Integrity Commission to go in and inspect the register of interest, and you can find your information there. So under the Integrity in Public Life Act itself, it gives that avenue for any member of the public to inspect any one of our forms at the Integrity Commission. It's called a register of interest.
But I was looking at the request. If a declarant has to file a request for an extension of the filing period time, is there any way that an interested person could find out, say using the Freedom of Information Act, could you lodge it, or even the Integrity Act?
Yeah. I see no reason why, because this act, if you look at it, was meant to promote transparency and accountability for persons in public life and their transactions. So I see no difficulty in making that request to the Integrity Commission to seek that information.
Okay.
But why go to the Integrity Commission? We should ask the Prime Minister. He is the one who hasn't filed his forms. The Prime Minister is the ideal individual to ask, well, why didn't you file your forms? And Sean, what is very noteworthy also is that the other persons who are in public life who purchased townhouses, such as the governor of the central bank, as he filed his declaration and disclosed the house. You had Mr. Newman George, who is the husband of the Speaker of the House. He sits on multiple state enterprises. He disclosed that he purchased a townhouse. So one would ask, well, why not you, Mr. Prime Minister? Are you above the law?
Before we end, I just wanted to bring to your attention when I spoke about Shervan Cove. I just wanted to give you the evidence of the name of the company that has been contracted by the THA. He's a very lucky individual, gets a lot of contracts through the THA. This is for Cove. He is developing Cove for all the business people who have been displaced as a result of the airport. And this is Shervan. Shervan, here is the gentleman again. He's into everything in Tobago. So this is the evidence of the signage of the Warner Construction Group that is involved not only in Cove but also in Shervan. All right, members of the media, in closing, if there are no further questions, may I put the people of Tobago on alert. This election in Tobago, the people of Tobago have to be extremely vigilant, very vigilant, because certain things are happening that are of grave concern to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And the role of the Elections and Boundaries Commission is very important in this respect. So vigilance is very important. And we call, in closing, on the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission to uphold the principles of transparency, democracy, and openness in the governance process surrounding this Election and Boundaries Commission that has the duty to ensure that there is free and fair elections in Trinidad and Tobago. And in this respect, we call on him to immediately withdraw this so-called pilot project survey that comes on the heels of an election that did not have the participation, involvement, or consultation with the stakeholders. I speak on behalf of the United National Congress. We were never consulted on this pilot project, even though we are not contesting the elections, but we are the official opposition of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So, members of the media, thank you for coming, and we wish you a very safe evening. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. For the year ending 31st of December 2020. So the last form or the last declaration on file is for the year 2019.
Is that in itself, does this raise a new issue now? Is it now coming into a new issue if we are, well, year 2020 is gone and now basically almost year 2021 has gone. Is this a new question that is being raised there now?
So how it works, Sean?
Yeah.
So a person in public life, the years counted at the last day of the annual year.
Okay.
So let's just give 2020 an example,
Mm-hmm.
right? After the 31st of December 2020, you have until the 31st of May the following year as the deadline to file your Integrity in Public Life form. However, the Integrity Commission can give you an extension for up to 12 months. But that request must be made in writing to the Integrity Commission, and then they will agree whether or not they grant the deadline. So one will have to ask now, why is the Prime Minister taking so long to file his forms for the year 2020? Because the last, as I said, that he has filed for was the year ending 31st December 2019.
Is the Freedom of Information Act, would that provide, like, if there was an interested party, does Freedom of Information Act, is it applicable to the integrity, even if it's Form B?
Yeah.
I mean, the limited declaration in the Form B. Could an interested party use Freedom of Information Act to see if a declarant did make a request to the EBC, Integrity Commission,
for an extension?
For an extension.
Sean, you don't need to go that far.
Okay.
Under Section 14(2) of the Integrity in Public Life Act, any member of the public has the power of making a request to the Integrity Commission to go in and inspect the register of interest, and you can find your information there. So under the Integrity in Public Life Act itself, it gives that avenue for any member of the public to inspect any one of our forms at the Integrity Commission. It's called a register of interest.
But I was looking at the request. If a declarant has to file a request for an extension of the filing period time, is there any way that an interested person could find out, say using the Freedom of Information Act, could you lodge it, or even the Integrity Act?
Yeah. I see no reason why, because this act, if you look at it, was meant to promote transparency and accountability for persons in public life and their transactions. So I see no difficulty in making that request to the Integrity Commission to seek that information.
Okay.
But why go to the Integrity Commission? We should ask the Prime Minister. He is the one who hasn't filed his forms. The Prime Minister is the ideal individual to ask, well, why did you file your forms? And Sean, what is very noteworthy also is that the other persons who are in public life who purchased townhouses, such as the governor of the central bank, because he filed his declaration and disclosed the house. You had Mr. Newman George, who is the husband of the Speaker of the House. He sits on multiple state enterprises. He disclosed that he purchased a townhouse. So one would ask, well, why not you, Mr. Prime Minister? Are you above the law?
Before we end, I just wanted to bring to your attention when I spoke about Chauvin.